Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vex Warfield. I am Vex, your host. Tonight, I want to do some thinking. Maybe encourage others to maybe think outside the box, or if you've heard me talk about something that I'm going to be talking about, then maybe this will be a little refresher. The mind. The mind is something that, well, as far as the public goes, is a mysterious thing. I mean, sure, they're making new connections and figuring out what different parts of the brain do. Um, if they, tickle this part of the wrinkle, then your arm, jabs out. But one thing they stay clear away from, things like the pineal gland and the capabilities of the mind itself. Our minds are so powerful, so very powerful. Yet, they want to keep that from us. I mean, if it wasn't for them, we'd be living a Star Trek type life, you don't need money. If you want food, you just get it. You could make a living as an artist, musician. Typically those that, unless you make it big, you don't make any money. Hence the term starving artist. The dumbing down of society itself has caused us a great deal of problems. So much so that it has stunted humans. And probably will for generations. If we get to generations. Hey, Rebel, good to see you. And a lot of this has to do with what I want to go into is the big picture itself, the universe. And what is the universe? This is something I like to think about a lot, and I'm hoping that you guys are up to it. But like I often say, everything is connected. So let's try and make some connections. All right, the brain itself, the way it does things is whenever you learn something new, it creates a new pathway. Now, in creating that pathway, it's a spark of electricity, a mini explosion, if you will. That mini explosion sends off a route where information is coded on that route. And anytime you want to access that information, another electrical burst is sent down that route. Now, I'm oversimplifying, of course, at least to my understanding. Now, I could get a brain surgeon up here to, probably tear my argument apart. That's all fine and dandy. This is the way I see things. Monday Night Madness is for speculation. What ifs? Let's open up our imagination and tie it in with a little bit of reality. See if we can make something happen. But like I was saying, the mind is very powerful. It can create entire universes inside itself. You yourself can create universes. As a matter of fact, I have had something like that in my mind for so long that I decided to try and write a book about it. I found out really quickly I'm not a writer, so that's not going to happen. But if anybody's a writer out there and they can, I'll tell the story too. They can write it up, and maybe we can make a book, or at least a whole freaking series of books, because it's not a one book kind of story. But anyway, you can create yourself, or inside your mind, you can create entire universe. Now, the reason why I'm saying this and bringing this up front is because I think that's where we're at. We're in the mind of the creator. and from the creator's understanding of the creator's environment informs on our environment. Now, overall in the universe, one of the things that I've noticed is, well, the difference between the science I grew up learning and the science that I've found factual. And there's a horrible gap in between those two. The science I grew up with essentially went along the lines of Einstein, where space is kind of static. Nothing really does anything, and there's just not much happening, according to Einstein. And I don't know. I had a hard time buying that, but I took it to heart because that's what I was taught. It wasn't until later that I started learning about all the electromagnetism that plays the biggest role in the universe itself. It structures this universe. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because what I was talking about a little earlier about creating memories in your mind and it burning a pathway. Sorry, guys, I'm reading what's in chat real quick. Thanks. I'm going to put that up on the screen. Epiphanies are still a glorious feeling that cascades a calming and humbling feeling on self-growth and brilliance that trickles down the body and recharges the soul. I like that. You want to write my book, Rebel Jack? Because I'll damn sure let you. I'll tell you the whole story, brother. That's definitely better than what I would have done. But I'm equating the universe as far as the structure of the universe itself. The structure of the universe itself, the way it is portrayed by, the numbers, essentially, looking at wavelengths, and gathering up all this data that these scientists have been doing, and basically making a picture of what the universe looks like, according to how the galaxies are lined up and all that stuff. They found out that most of the galaxy and galaxy clusters generally spin the same way, all of them. It's almost uniform. Damn, it's too bad I can't share two screens. No, it only allows me to share one at a time. Well, that sucks. All right, but what it looks like is essentially, I remember an illustration that I watched on TV a long time ago. It was basically an artist rendering of what it looks like when your brain fires off one of his. Hey, Survival, good to see you. Basically, whenever your neurons fire off. And I thought about that and had that implanted in my head. Oh. I see what you mean, Rebel Jack. Huh. I might mess with that here in a minute. But basically, from what I learned afterwards, after I learned that science, was basically half a lie, um, I started digging up old stuff that, basically there were a lot of papers written on it, and a lot of people, the people that disagreed with it plus agreed with it. Bruce Wayne, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. But all this research on it seemed viable, and looking at it recently, I found that it does have merit. You know, it's up to you guys whether you think it does or not. But from my perspective, what was firing or neurons firing in the brain is comparable to what the universe looks like. Now, a neuron firing in the brain is, we'll just say, one line of thought. Just one line of thought, and then it codes it in there so you can go back and access it, if I could speak, access it again. Now, put that to the macro scale, the universe itself, and the structure of how the galaxies are lined up. Each one of those galaxies you could almost think of as a neuron. So you have a whole string of lines of thought connected together as one. Now, everybody knows space is a vacuum. It's one of the things, you're first taught about space. Now, why is it a vacuum? Think about that for a sec. Why is space a vacuum? One of the interesting things I've, pretty much thought about when watching like firearms channels on YouTube, and people shoot into ballistic gels and things of that nature. They'll shoot at targets and all that stuff. Hey, Callie. But they'll use ballistic gel to catch the bullet and, show what damage it does while traveling through that ballistic gel. Now imagine you make some ballistic gel, but when you're making it, you take a small explosion, you take a small explosive and you put it inside the middle of that gel. And, you hook it up to a little radio transmitter so you can detonate it from far away. Now, but it's small enough to where you don't want it to blow the ballistic gel totally apart. It's just small enough to make a explosion go off and create a large cavity. Now, after that explosion goes off and creates that large cavity, inside that large cavity is a vacuum. Now, in the split seconds of that explosion, a universe was created. Now, I'm using this as an illustration. Most likely the compounds in ballistic gel wouldn't equate to making up a universe. But it's a good illustration for what I'm talking about. I think there was an explosion of thought made with electricity that created this cavern, or actually this vacuum. And inside, our time is moving slow enough, relatively speaking, that explosion happened actually in the blink of an eye, but the time would be at a different rate for us compared to outside the ballistic gel. Now, in a split second, a whole universe could grow and populate and die. It's in the realm of possibilities. But that would go into different aspects of, like, string theory and whatever. Anyway, what I'm trying to explain is that the pieces of that ballistic gel that were vaporized and went in all directions inside this vacuum. For a split second, they were blazing like suns. And who knows, they could have had particles revolving around them. You see what I'm trying to lay down here? Am I going too off the deep end for everyone, or you guys just enjoying the ride? But essentially what I am saying is that I believe our universe is an explosion in the mind of God, or creator, whatever title you would like to put on it. But this is a world that creator has, this is a universe that the creator has created. And it's according to his thoughts that things are the way they are. Now, if that is a possibility, and we are really extensions of the mind of God, or the mind of the creator in whatever form you want to title him, so that all of our connections between the analogy that I was putting through Cal, I did some explanation beforehand. Essentially, I'm just putting out a theory that I've talked about before. I think I've even talked to you about it. I'm just going into a little bit of detail as far as the universe and the way it matches up with neural firings of the brain. It's very similar, at least in my opinion. And so I'm bringing a story of our universe's neurons firing in the brain of the creator. And I was using ballistic gel to kind of illustrate that. I was talking about why is space a vacuum? And that's, well, in my line of thinking, space is a vacuum because there was an explosion. Now, this goes into the Big Bang Theory, which I don't exactly go along with, but I understand how it simplifies Big Crunch or Big Freeze. I think it's most likely a Big Freeze. Deez, to see ya. I mean, if what they're actually telling us is true about the expansion to where everything's moving away from itself, then it would inevitably be a Big Freeze. As far as a Big Crunch, that's not out of the question either, because that could happen after the freeze. I mean, there's still a lot we're trying to figure out as far as dark energy and dark matter and what it really does and what it really is. So, I don't know. And plus, dark matter and dark energy are just labels we put on something we have no idea what it is. Yeah, there's well, I was going to tie this into all the different galactic clusters and all that type of thing. All has a Taurus, which is a big electromagnetic generator. Now, every star, every planet every rock out there in space has at least small amounts of it. But all these together, even that encompasses the entire galaxy. And when clusters come together of galaxies, they make a giant one with all them. Now, granted, it's not as finely wrought as what a galactic TARS would be, but it would create one just the same. That's why they cluster like that. Now, if it's attracting all them and pushing them away at the same time, now the electromagnetism will bring things closer together. Yes, Taurus. And basically, it's like well, the Taurus, think of it as like a donut-shaped movement of electromagnetism. Well, the way they explain the Taurus is around, say, Jupiter. It's magnetic field. That's the Taurus. See, that's one thing I wish I had more answers as far as dark matter, dark energy goes, because that would probably explain a lot. But right now, I have to concentrate on what I do know about and add in information, whatever I come up with as I go. Say, chat glitching? What's happening with it? Looks like it's running all right from my end. Of course, that don't mean much. All right. But we get hit with solar flares and stuff like that. What gets caught in our Taurus is how we get the northern lights. For those of you who don't know, it comes in through the north and basically circulates downward towards the equator and comes out, and basically it's all around the planet itself, so it basically is in the shape of a donut because there's an opening at the north and the south, which those are the openings. I gotta just bring this up, be easier to show you. The big donut of energy. A lot of people have actually described auras around people as Taurus also. And I do believe each human being, everything has a Taurus. Even rocks, little grains of sand. May be really weak, but they have them. Now, what does that tell you if everything in the universe has one? I mean, that can't be just a coincidence. Well, that sucks, Callie, because, this is mainly audio broadcast. Yeah, where is that picture at? But yeah, it's one thing that keeps running around in my head, that all this, it comes together and fits together. Yeah. Aras. 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 That's that thing, but that's not what I was looking for. That's gonna have to go and download a picture of a donut or something. I don't know. All right, I'll tell you what. Before I get too deep and lose my train of thought going on here, I'll go ahead and throw. I'll pin it in the chat. All right, there is the StreamYard link if you want to come up here and do a little speculation and daydreaming with me. Did that work? It says it worked. There it is. All right, cool. All right, the StreamYard link is in the chat and pinned at the top. So come on up here and let's talk about stuff that's really cool. Hell, give me your theories. Tell me if you think I'm full of shit. I mean, I'm open to suggest corrections. Let's figure this stuff out. We got a whole universe to learn about. And that includes right here too. Let's see. Well, daydream is not for scientists. I mean, if you can imagine, Scrimshaw, you can do the same thing I'm doing right now. Because that's how I put things together, is let my imagination be governed by my logic. Like I said, every one of you have such potential. I have no doubt in that. Where in the hell is this damn picture? I know I have one. Gonna have to break out the science folder. You'd think it'd be easy to find a picture. No, that's a black hole. Not quite the same. But it has a torus also. It's just the black hole's torus is kind of jacked up because it spews shit out the north and south. Which is cool in itself, but still. Those damn scientists keep on telling you that nothing can escape the black hole. That's bullshit. I see jets of radiation and shit spewing out. Liars. Oh, and for those of you who think black holes are actually holes, that's wrong. Black holes are matter squished to a point that is so dense it causes stuff to be sucked into it. So that means a black hole is not a hole. It is actually matter. So think about a hole is basically the size of a basketball at the center of that big ominous blackness. So if you ever went into a black hole, you would be stretched, spaghettification. And it would take forever because time is even dilated. Yeah. Nice try, Callie. It just looks like the recycle symbol. Alright, I'm just gonna get one off the damn internet. Oh shit, how do you... Oh, T... I can spell sometimes. Alright. A torus. In geometry, a torus is a surface of revolution generated by revolving a circle in three-dimensional space about an axis that is coplanar. Coplanar. Ugh, I'm good with English. Coplanar with the circle. If the axis of the revolution does not touch the circle, the surface has a ring shape and is called a torus of revolution. All right, that is the little explanation for it that pops up when I look for it, just for information's sake. And next one, as soon as my computer can catch up, I'll get me a picture of it and we'll show it to you. Today, Junior. I wonder if it's going to show me one with a planet. Yeah, try to catch up. Come on, hurry up. And I got it. One with an apple. I guess that's close. What the hell? Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do this quickly. All right, screw it. We're going to use the apple. All right. We will stop that. Yeah, that's not really a good picture, though. It doesn't... It's not right. Well, I guess it is, but fuck it. It will have to do. All right. Let's pull this up. Yes. All right. Here we go. Now, what this illustrates is the torus. The apple in the center, of course, would represent a planet or a, something along those lines. Hell, it could even represent an apple itself. But you can see how the donut shape, the hole in the middle of the donut is essentially very small. And right there at the top here, I can even use my mouse here. All right. And you can see how up here at the top, it funnels out and then goes around and then funnels back in underneath. Now, what happens when, say, coronal mass ejection comes and hits part of it and comes up and lights up all the sky in this part and in this part? What that is the field itself reacting to what's hitting it. And it basically creates this. Well, it doesn't create that. I said that wrong. It enacts with it and energizes it, and we see the results, at least through actual visual seeing it. The aurora borealis. Now, everything, like I said, has this type of structure around it, whether it's strong or weak. It's uh, like the Earth has one that's so much weaker than Jupiter's. Um, but that's because of the physical makeup of what the planet is actually made of, and all the factors that all the different metals and stuff like that. Now, with Earth, it's smaller and everything, and we actually know that the Earth goes through cycles of the inside of the core flipping. Everybody knows we have an iron nickel core, and that can be very, very, very magnetic. Now, when it flips around up there, it weakens the whole aura of the torus itself. And I forgot where I was initially going with this, so let's see. Yeah, I'll go back to chat. Yeah. Let's see. Scrimshaw says, I don't believe so, considering that would have a specific shape, I believe, but could be incorrect. Were you talking about something earlier? Hey, Nate, welcome. Good to see you. I'm going to catch up on the chat. Hi. Hey, God's night. Good to see you too. Yeah, for those of you joining us, I have the StreamYard link pinned at the top of the chat. Come up here and join me. We're talking about some, well, the structure of the universe and how it may tie into the spiritual part of the universe. And, well, like I have said many, many times, it's all connected. But right now I'm trying to explain for those who don't know about torus and magnetic field that is generated by everything, even to the point of humans. We have auras, which are bioelectromagnetic, which sounds kind of weird, but all of us have auras, and we all put off energy, and we all receive energy. I know I've talked about this at different times about how you can walk into the room and feel the energy of a room. Those are auras interacting. To the same point of if we, say, left Earth and went to Jupiter, we would feel differently than we would feel on Earth because the electromagnetic field itself would have an effect on us one way or another because it's so much more powerful. Cyber Talk, good to see you. But these things, the more powerful they are, the more effect that it would have on things. So, if this isn't that is almost a constant in the universe, well, quite frankly, I think it is a constant. Everything has one of these, and you can use them to interact with other R's or torus. You can feel them. Now, it just so happens we're inside of a torus, and we have torus all around us from different things. Like I said, some are weak, some are strong. As a matter of fact, ley lines are parts of the torus itself. For those of you just join us, go ahead and hit that StreamYard link. Join me up here, and we can talk about this crazy stuff. But say, I truly believe that my little saying everything is connected catchphrase I really do mean it. There's so many things that match up together from, I mean, if if you think about fractal mathematics itself, fractal mathematics basically, in a very simple terms, it's the same from far away as it is up close, and everything just points towards we're inside something at least partially biological. At least the stuff that our universe is made of. Well, it's like the example of the ballistics gel. Like I said, if you put that small explosive in the center of that ballistics gel and then you detonate it from a distance, it'll create a vacuum inside there. And for that split second, you will have multiple blazing pieces of ballistic gel. They will be on fire and they will be shooting, from inward to outward. And you're going to have that vacuum. And for that split second, those fireballs, hell, they could even have, like I said, it could be a mini universe in itself for that split second. Time, the way we see it, is not necessarily the way time is, or what time could be. Just because it's this way here, and we use our observations to basically put time as an explanation. But outside of our universe, because I do believe there's an outside of our universe, time doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. For instance, imagine our creation of this universe. The Big Bang, things heated up and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm sure at least most of you have seen the diagram of Bang, the way they do a timeline with it and everything. So I'll spare you that. But imagine all that span of time, what we call time, happened in a blink of an eye. I mean, what I'm saying is our life right now, the eyelids are just starting to open, from the blink. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, do I sound like I'm going off the deep end here? Because I've already been accused of being on an acid trip. So, oh, there's this other picture I wanted to show you guys. This is basically an artist rendering of a section of our universe, essentially. Let's see, I need it from the window. Yes. Show me the universe. All right. Now, this is what I was talking about as far as neurons firing and things of that nature. To me, I see a structure of the universe because I know that's what the picture's supposed to depict. So I see that, but I also see brain cells and things like that. The neurons firing off and making a grand structure of thought. That's what I see when I see this picture, instead of, the title of, the structure of our universe. I see pure thought. I can't help but see it that way. Ever since they made this type of model, this is what I've saw. Thought. A story being mapped out in a brain. Exactly, cybertoxin. That's exactly what I'm saying. A neural network. This is all I see. I mean, it looks too damn close to it for it not to be. I mean, each branch. Yeah, it's only loony unless you. It's only loony if you don't understand it. But for real, this picture, when it came out, sent my brain spiraling. Just because the first thing I saw was that commercial or whatever it was that I saw many years ago of um, uh, neural networks in the brain, an artist's rendition of that. Except this is more complicated, which would make more sense. I mean, the outright beauty of it, simplicity and complexity. How could it not be? But like I said, I if you guys have something to counter that, I'm more than willing to listen, because quite frankly, I want everybody's ideas. I want them all. Sorry, I'm just staring at the picture and just. All right, now what I was saying about the polarization of the galactic clusters and things like that. Now, the way this looks, you can't really tell in that about how the formation of the galaxy clusters and stuff like that. But it does show these little dots in the strings where it goes from the yellowish parts to the bluish parts. Now, those are essentially the way they line up is at a specific angle. I can't remember the actual angle, but they're all lined up at a specific angle from the central part of the closest area. So, for instance, that big orange spot in the middle that condenses down to the yellow spot right there, the main center, all those are coming out from that, and it will have a certain degree of axis coming from that point. Now, others that were, say, down in the lower middle, there's a yellow spot. Here, I bet you I can do this. Right? Yeah, here we go. This spot right here, away from this spot, will have branches coming out from it, and they will be oriented accordingly. And they're all at the same angle, give or take a few degrees. But generally, all the same angle. And I don't know if you understand that or not, but that's freaking amazing. That just gives you a record of where it comes from. So whenever these scientists are talking about looking back in time at the universe and stuff like that, this is what they're talking about. And it wasn't until recently before they made this type of thing and started putting all the numbers together and mapping this out. Now, granted, this is an artist rendering, but it's pretty close to what the numbers project. I mean, to tell you the truth, I'd make it more chaotic and more stuff coming out of it. According to what I've read. I mean, you could almost think of it as a spider web, but not just a two-dimensional spider web, like a big three-dimensional basketball spider web. But what I see there in this picture is a neural network, a line of thought. And I'm convinced it is. Callie, I get lost in my own mind all the time. I don't need a toke to do it. But it helps. I mean, my imagination has taken me all over the place. But this is the biggest story that I've had my mind on. And it reaches all the way from the structure of the universe all the way to the structure of a beach. Or even just the structure of your body. The individual cells themselves. Yeah. In this theory I've been putting together, it makes more sense than anything else I've come across. And it's not that I'm trying to push it on you. I feel amazed by it, so I want to share. I mean, if this is all true and I've got this right, well, that's awesome. But if I've got it wrong, that's kind of awesome too, because I had fun thinking about it. I had fun reading about it and imagining what if. Creativity is something we can't give up on. I don't care if it's you doing crocheting or knitting or playing basketball or drawing, whatever. Be creative in everything you do. Think outside the box, because the box sucks. The box is made by, it's GI government issue. So you don't have to go along with what I'm saying. I'm not asking you to. I'm just saying, hey, check out what I thought of. Yeah, actually, Deez, that's kind of what I'm saying. We are in God's brain, made up of God's brain. I mean, everybody's already saying we are stardust. Is it such a stretch? I mean, everything is made up of whatever the universe is made up of. We're all made up of it. Everything is. Now we just have to figure out what that actually is. Because, like I was saying earlier, we're inside of a vacuum. A vacuum from some sort of something happened. And it made stars and galaxies and clusters of galaxies and planets and comets and just plain rocks and dust and all the stuff that we're a part of. That we're a part of, and it's part of us. Is it such a stretch? But yeah, this is kind of what I've been putting together. I'm not trying to go complicated with it. I want to make it simple. And because I actually think the more simple we try and make this, the easier it will be not only to get it, but to understand it, to really understand it, and to understand many other things in our universe. I mean, logic speaks variably, and simplicity goes hand in hand with it. Just in my pursuits of different things that I've studied all those complicated things, and it seems like it's made to be overly complicated. Yeah, exactly. Keep it simple, stupid. Because the more complicated you make something, the less it makes sense and the more stupid it would be. Well, maybe stupid's kind of harsh, but whatever. I mean, keeping it simple has, well, quite frankly, made me who I am. I mean, as far as me taking control over my own destiny, so to speak, then yeah, that's been my rule. Keep it simple. Kind of hard for me sometimes, but I try. I mean, creativity can bring you there. An exercise between one side and the other. It's almost like a counterbalance. All right, I'm gonna bring this down and bring up Cybertoxin. Welcome.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
Pretty good.
So what do you?
It's definitely interesting. I'm not really sure if I understand everything or even if it's possible, but it's definitely thought inspiring.
Well, there you go. That's all I'm looking for. That's all I ask. Think about it. Hell, put your own spin on it.
Well, I watched a video on a channel called After School recently, and it's right on the lines of what you're talking about the Metatron's cube and the flower of life, the seed of life, the fruit of life, all these geometrical shapes, all created by a circle, and then it moves to a certain limit and just keeps repeating this process, and you end up with, at that point of Metatron's cube is where you start getting all of your hard angles and your solid shapes from.
All right, real quick. Welcome, Rebel Jack.
Hey, I was trying to get ready to get on here, so I'm a little behind on the chat in general.
Well, I don't know if you'd be interested in playing that video, and cutting it up a little, so you giving some feedback on it. It's definitely full of more thought-inspiring things, and
I'd have to check it out.
Yeah, it has a bunch of pictures of, the geometric shapes in the process, adding a circle here and then adding more circles around that circle and then around them. It's very complicated, but it does mention that it all starts with a point, like you were talking about a black hole. Not actually being something empty. It's something that encompasses everything that's inside of it.
Yes.
And draws more to itself. And that point would be a spirit. And in order for it to be a spirit, it would also need to be able to move. in order for it to move, it would have to have something relative toward which it could move. And it said in making such a thing happen was the creation of light. And I forget the name of the first event, but when one circle is there and then it moves, the center of the circle moves to the outer radius of itself and then forms another circle, and then there's like this football or eyeball shape in the middle. And they said that's like the first event, and then it goes around that circle creating other circles, and it got really complicated. I wasn't able to really follow the whole thing, but
Yeah.
It seemed like a pattern, something sensible that could be followed into infinity and actually explain what you're talking about, that consciousness developing into, at a certain stage they called it something called the egg of life, which is once it comes out of this two-dimensional aspect, once it's made a full circle of circles around the circle, then it becomes this egg of life and can become a three-dimensional thing. And then they showed these egg cells, like in mammalian egg cells, under a microscope, and showed how they were similar to this egg of life shape.
Yeah.
And then they kept drawing circles around that, and was the flower of life, and then the seed of life. They showed other symbolisms through other cultures throughout the world that have this flower of life symbol in their culture and their history.
Real quick, let me know if the music is messing with the audio at all out there in chat. But yeah, the patterns that, I mean, I'm no expert, far from it. I've never made it hidden that I'm a high school dropout. I don't have a real good education. This is just me thinking about stuff and trying to make sense of whatever is around me. But so many things develop patterns that, well, it's like what I was saying about fractal mathematics and what you were just saying also. It's the same from far away as it is up close. And that can't be a coincidence. There's too much out there that basically goes right along with it. And all this stuff happens naturally. I mean, science uses numbers to explain things. Now, I'm no mathematician, but I've read what they have talked about, what those numbers mean. Now, this isn't mostly, the stuff that they shout from the rooftops and have seminars over and stuff like that. This is the guys that basically try and get published that they keep on the fringes and, try not to let them publish the real stuff. And I'm like I said earlier, I'm just amazed at how much this all fits together. Like I said, though, if anybody's got anything to counter any part of this, please bring it to my attention, because I want to take that into account also. I want to know everything. I don't mean that with my ego. I'm just that curious. Rebel Jack?
Yes, just to go back to like the stardust concept and stuff, and to go into kind of the black holes. a black hole is like the condensing of everything in space, and it puts things into like a singularity form. Some, yeah, of course, like you were talking about how they radiation and light, such things. So things are escaping. But I was doing my, I don't know, soil science education, and I forget what her name is. Something Ingra something. It's like Laura Ingram's last name, but not quite the same.
Ah,
But the she was working with like a handful of people, and they were studying soil, and they said everywhere, all around the world, are all the nutrients any plant life would need to grow and flourish. It's just all the nutrients aren't necessarily in absorbing forms for the plants, which is where the microbiology and the slightly larger biology above microbiology helps to create it to be in absorbable forms for the plants. So there's
hmm
that symbiotic form there. But if you think about it, each little particle of dirt, sand, silt, all those already have a lot of nutrients within them that are just locked up.
yeah,
And that kind of also, on a large scale, if you think about it, also mirrors space because, we have the planets. So those are more like mineral dense, nutrient dense cluster areas. And then you have like the gases, and those are more of like the suns and the stars.
hmm
And when the explosion occurred, the Big Bang, quote unquote, occurred, it forced things outward, and then everything similar or complementing or bindable with other elements bound together, and that is how stars formed, and that's how planets formed. Certain things like the dust rings around Saturn and such are just different versions of those. I'll yield there.
yeah. And one of the things I started kicking around earlier in life when I was still a little angry guy, um, one of the things I kicked around was how well the patterns themselves. Actually, I need to think a little bit more before I talk about it. It's one of those things where I went down a line of thinking, and part of that line of thinking has gaps in it, so I kind of just skipped the gap. So it's not quite fully formulated yet. But cybertoxin up here, he put up here Romans 1:20. The invisible things of him from creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. You want to throw a little bit more elaboration on that for me?
Well, previous to that, he was talking about um, the existence of God, his relationship to God, the righteousness and wrath of God, and why he walks the path that he does. He's introducing himself to the Romans in that first chapter. And after that verse, he goes on to talk about the path he does not take. And it gets pretty dark, but with all his description and in, I don't know if retrospect is the proper word, but looking at the world today, there's a lot in there that is very comparable. It's rather scary. The last three verses I'll read, 30, 31, and 32, says, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them.
So, all the people that willingly do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I've never been, well, I've said I'm not a man of scripture, but I know God. I kind of turned away from organized religion probably in my late teens, and I never looked back. I came to a fundamental conclusion that I would never find God in a structure like a man-made structure, and as far as I can tell, I'm right. I don't know how it is with everyone else, but I saw
Well,
God in nature.
right. That's where he's seen. Not necessarily where you hear about him, but that's where he's seen. That's where the individual can witness him. My dad has admitted that he used to be the kind of guy to grab someone up by the shirt collar and say, "Listen, man, hey." But, you know, you come to realize that it's not for us to convince people, just to tell them.
Yeah.
So that they'll begin to think, they'll begin to search, and they'll find themselves searching and finding something that no man can deliver. No one can just hand it to you and say, here it is. It doesn't work that way.
And that's the basic principle of us, what we're supposed to be doing. Right there. That explains it right there. And just there it is. This is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to learn, and we're supposed to work together. We're not supposed to be at each other's throat. All that is manufactured. And it's manufactured by those backbiters. Yeah. I mean, I like to take a step back to what Rebel Jack was saying a little while ago. He was talking about plants and biology. And, well, what I wanted to say was all these different disciplines in science. And, you know, there's astrobiology or whatever, biology itself, you know, all the different disciplines. They should never be separate. That's the mistake that everyone is making. It's one discipline. It's just different parts. It's all connected together. You can't have separate disciplines. It doesn't work. I mean, everything from, like I was saying, molecular biology to music. It's all one thing. The fact that we've separated it has been a detriment to our society, to the people as a whole. If we got a microbiologist and an astrophysicist together and started talking shop, you know how many connections that could be made? Well, this out here in the universe looks like one of these, you know, how these cells work together. Wow, wonder if there's a connection of some sort. Well, yes, there is a connection. It's all connected. Sorry, I went on a little Preach fest there.
No, that's great because that reminded me of something I wanted to say earlier. Is
Cool.
like an atom, right? An atom kind of has a torus itself, right? Because it
Yes.
has the spinning thing around it, and that's like
Yes.
on the most micro scale you could really view with our eyes, even with enhanced scopes and such.
Right.
But if you make it on a macro scale, it's very similar to the torus of a planet. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it doesn't matter what scale you're looking at these things, they kind of all apply throughout the medium between the extremes that we can visibly study.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Now imagine, I mean, you're putting in science itself. There, all the different disciplines in science, from medical all over, they all stop at a certain point, and they all have gaps. Those gaps can be filled with those other disciplines. It's just they're not communicating with each other the way they should. All of this from the universe down to the atom, or even smaller, is the same. Same things happen. These little particles go around this particle, spin around it, and when this particle goes with it, it changes it into this, but it's still spinning around it. You look up into the universe, and oh, that sun's up there, and that thing's spinning around it. Oh, that's a planet, and there's another one spinning around it. I mean, there's coincidence, but to me, it's not. Well, I guess it would be. Like
Depending
I
on the
said,
view of coincidence.
still working on this area of thought.
I was also thinking similar along with the symbols that Cybertosin was going over, like the egg shape, the flower of life, the seed of life, those kinds
Yeah.
of shapes. I've been trying to work those into a like a gardening, agriculture kind of sense. And I really want to make like ponds that are like flower of life shapes and stuff. One, they'll have more surface area, and on the edges of um, life variations, like the edge of a forest is like where you'll find a lot of shrubs and berries and such, and then past that is where you'll find like more larger plants, and then it fades into like a grassland out of the forest, and then also along just more in toward from the toward the forest, you'll find like smaller, more various species of trees, and then there will
Yeah.
be more of a cluster in the center of mono cultures of trees. But there are also trees that will grow trees on their branches as long as the seeds root within like the moss and stuff. The root will dig down
Hmm.
eventually into the branch itself, and it'll one tree will funnel water from the ground into another tree to support it on its branch, which is just miraculous in its own right.
Yeah, the landscapers and stuff call that grafting.
Yeah, as we do it, but nature did it on its own.
Right. That's one of the things that kind of blew my mind when I started looking into fractal mathematics. Oh, that's the wrong link. Cybertoxin.
Yeah, that's the wrong link. I'm not sure which one it is, but I just checked on my tablet and it's a different number sequence.
Yeah, it says this
Um,
is live at 8 p.m. Liberal policy crash bail. Has blood
oh,
on his hands.
that's from Backyard Politics.
Yeah. Right on.
So never mind. That's the wrong thing. I've got the tablet here. I can drop it in the live chat, but
All right.
is that cool?
Yeah. I gave you a wrench, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Go for it.
So I have this thing on my tablet clipboard, but it wasn't on my phone. That's the one from after school. If anybody wants to watch that later, it's about all those circles. They just keep
Yeah.
making circles until there's enough of them that you can find squares and rectangles and pyramids, triangles and such.
Yeah. I do like after school. It basically illustrates what they're talking about. So it's a combination there. It's good learning.
I was looking for something much less involved than that. You know, something a little more, what is it, right brained?
Hmm.
Something not so left brained.
Right.
And
Or
so
correct.
I was geared differently, and it kind of threw me for a loop or 20, but it was definitely information, so I put it on a playlist.
Right on.
I was looking for
Yeah.
something completely different, so I didn't really catch much other than this is describing a certain pattern from beginning to infinity. So it's definitely deep.
Nice.
And
I'm gonna definitely check that one out.
it starts at that point you were talking about, just some kind of point. It doesn't necessarily have any size, but it's something encompassing everything inside of it
Hmm.
and pulling more into itself or expanding, doing something. It's not just sitting there like rock.
Right.
So there's some kind of energy, some kind of motion going on there.
It's all over the universe. I mean, this is something that has come out over the years that keeps getting confirmed over and over, but it's never shouted from the rooftops or anything like that. It's just everybody seems to make the same conclusion and puts it out, but nobody pays it any attention. But it's
Callie
so
mentioned the
central.
spirographs.
Hmm.
You see, Callie just mentioned the spirographs. You remember those?
Yep.
That's exactly what some of those things started to look like on that video.
Well, yeah.
Like some spirograph stuff.
And
It started blowing my mind.
And think about it, it's a kid's toy that we were playing with, but it was an actual scientific thing itself.
Yeah.
And that was one of the natural toys in our childhoods. Now, what are natural toys in our childhood? For these kids growing up, that's a fucking cell phone.
I don't even know what a spirograph is, but I can imagine.
Well, they were like gears, and there was a big framework that had a whole bunch of teeth of gears on the inside of some shape. Sometimes it would be a square or rectangular or circle. And then you have these different pieces that you would put inside of it that were smaller. And they kind of look like buttons, large buttons with little holes in them at different points where you could put a pen or a pencil inside these holes. And then you just move it along like a router tool would work for doing woodwork, and you could just get these shapes that would just keep repeating,
All right, yeah,
like
it's
perfect
along the
circles
lines.
overlapping each other. Yeah, or
It's along
perfect
what I was
ellipses.
thinking.
Yeah, it was pretty fun and just very expansive for the mind. Artistic kind of, but it was more of a sequence determined, but you didn't necessarily know what was going to happen unless you'd already been through it before.
Then
But
the real fun
everything,
begins.
yeah, everything that you made was predictable if you had the knowledge required, you know, to
There you go.
add up all the effects of this frame, this inner piece, your pins in this number or that number, this hole or that hole. All perfect pictures. Pictures work great.
There you go. And right there, what you're looking
so
at
fun.
is actually a simple rendering of a Taurus.
Huh.
All those, anything you can make with a spirograph is a Taurus. I mean, you know, simply speaking. But there it is.
Yeah, they had books that came with them that tell you which things you could use to make what kind of stuff, or you could just wander off on your own and pick things at random, see what happens.
Yeah, I used to move it and draw with it at the same time, so it made it like crescent shapes, and then I'd go back and make them, and just do all kinds of weird stuff with it while moving it around. And you can also get like, well, what I did was you cut out the ring of a coffee can, and you could put that inside of that, and it'll make multiple spirals. It's really cool. So basically, you put a bigger circle around that circle, and you move it around as you're moving it, and you do it in a basically like a rhythm, and you do the same thing. Try it. It's cool as shit.
I've seen somebody use the bottom of an energy drink can to disperse fumes and make like a stovetop burner out of a lighter.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Seen that too. I've seen bigger versions in cans.
You can use Crisco or lard as a fuel, light or heat source. It's kind of slow burning. I don't know about residue. I don't know if it makes a bunch of trash or not. That stuff's pretty good in a pinch during the wintertime. Of course, it's not too common for people to have lard stored somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Not unless you're my grandma. She loves cooking with that shit.
We got
Make sure and save the grease.
Yeah, we got like an old mustard glass for it's like German mustard, but it comes in glass, and we pour purely bacon fat in there, so it's all bacon flavor, whatever we add it to. I mean, you can't pour it in plastic because it'll melt the plastic. So you won't, unless you wait until it's so viscous, it takes 3 hours to pour it into the container.
Yeah, that's one of the things I did. I keep the beef grease and chicken grease and all the different grease. I keep them separate so that I can use them later. Like taking bacon grease and then cooking your eggs with it. Oh my god.
Yeah. I've seen some people, they mix the bacon grease with butter, so it's bacon flavored butter, so you can
Ooh,
spread it on your toast and it tastes a little bit like bacon.
that's awesome. Bacon butter.
Good Lord.
Bacon on
You're
everything.
welcome. This toast tastes like bacon, dude. I know. You're welcome.
Yeah, we spun off
And
into
then
food.
you could take your bacon flavored butter and use it to fry your bacon.
Hmm.
How did it turn to food? What happened?
Well, I think what happened is Cybertosin was looking at the rings, right? And then you brought up the coffee can lid, and then he remembered the
Ah,
fire can
Yeah.
thing, and then it went into
straight to food.
mediums to burn.
Oh yeah, the lard.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm keeping up. I
Yeah,
missed
you
some,
are.
but I'm keeping up now.
Yeah, thank you for the recall.
I appreciate the way of understanding like how we go from point A to point B with the conversation. Because sometimes I can't go from point A to point B, let alone C, D, E, F, G in conversation. Especially with like people have no idea what they like or anything.
Right.
So sometimes you got to realize like what you're talking about, how to turn that into another part of a conversation, so you don't sound stupid or you don't just sound like uninteresting. If you're
I
impression.
can I can
Otherwise, who
always
cares?
sound interesting. I can always sound interesting, but I often forget what I was just talking about because I'll end up, you know, 2 points north of M and not even remember that we never discussed point B and C. I'm over here lost in the neural network of space.
Yeah, I get sometimes lost in my own conversation.
I like it.
That's that's the mental Taurus.
Yeah, it is. Lightning strikes. Well, I don't know. It's always been a wondrous thing to me, whenever I start seeing things that match together. And it gets me excited because if nothing else, I feel as though I'm learning something or seeing something that maybe somebody else hasn't considered. And that makes me want to kind of tell it to everybody. You know what I mean? Whether you like it or not, I mean, you can take it or leave it, but I got to yell it out. The patterns are there. I wholeheartedly believe that I'm on the right line of thinking. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only one who said that, but I try not to put in the bullshit. I try and just go from logic and what makes sense. Keep it simple. But
Yeah, it also made me think perhaps linear thinking is part of the problem. Perhaps we need an
yes,
expensive torus of thoughts that collect to the singularity of our focal density to expand the symbiotic cohesiveness of the outer capacity in which we're trying to understand the center point.
yeah, I like that scrimshaw, the mental black hole. That gives me images.
A lot of them look like tumors, I think.
Hmm.
We are stuck in the extremes. We either have to be on the edge of things or the outside looking in, rather, or got to get right to the center of it. And
Yeah.
no appreciation for having no recognition of the in-betweens and the connectivity of things, which is actually where we find the purpose, because that's the trajectory of our aim. You know, it's not necessarily where we are now or where we're going to be or where it is we want to be. It's what we're doing to get there and what we experience as we go.
Exactly. You're right on my wavelength, dude.
Without an aim, we're just sitting on ass. But if we're too focused on the end of it, we don't pick anything up. And everything that is outside of what it is that we must have for being taught, whether through media or other institutions, this inclination toward instant gratification. We have to just have the thing and not have any sacrifice. So therefore there's no gratitude, not taking any risk. So therefore there's no reward, not ever having any rest. So we never have any strength. We just sit along for the ride.
Existing.
Yeah.
Existing instead of experiencing.
Right. For fear of experimenting and failing, for rumors of failure and suppression of successful stories. One reason that happened is because those things are conflicting and controversial, and they cause argument, and people can mediate those kind of things. Mediate. The middleman always likes to take a slice. He's taking a slice from both sides. He's making a killing.
Yeah, it can be on many different levels.
Yeah. Not just necessarily news media.
Yep. Yeah.
That's why man shouldn't have an intercessor to God.
Wait, say that again?
That's why man should not have an intercessor to God.
Ah.
I say that in respect of the Messiah that he sent being a part of him and a bridge laid for us, not a figurehead that's in between us.
Everybody has their own personal path to him.
Well, it's one way to redemption, which is confession and sacrifice, you know, to become a new creature. There's that aim thing that I was discussing. You know, if people don't have something to aim for, then they're not going to have any kind of direction or any kind of course to take. So we were given an example that it can be done.
Speaking of examples, it's exactly what we have in our society today. Directly. I mean, what do people have to motivate them? In general. Just in general. Nothing. As a matter of fact, it's all demotivational. Sit at home, collect a check, dependent on the government. Nobody wants to work. There's so many jobs open right now. I mean, like I say, it's all connected. Understanding the psychology. Oh, go ahead.
I was telling a friend of mine a year ago when they were talking about stimulus checks. I was telling her it's not going to be a stimulation, it's going to be a narcotic.
Exactly. Good way to put it.
Boom.
It's just that. All this, I mean, it's no coincidence that all these psychological effects have been just heaped upon societies as a whole. I mean, all of us. I don't give a crap who you are. Everyone has been hit by it and it's been sucked into it, at least at one level or another. Some of us are a little bit on a different level as far as recognizing what's propaganda and what's not. But most people don't have that discernment. They don't know the difference. It sounds like a motor was starting up at Rebel Jack's house. But they don't have that discernment. They don't know the difference. They don't even know how to approach learning how to learn the difference. And it's meant to keep us from knowing basically what I've been talking about all night. The potential of the human mind just in this plane of existence. But it can access other planes of existence. What's the name of that one? It is... I was going to bring up a... Oh, there it is. Bring this up for illustration. This is what they're trying to stop from happening. All those firings. All these little thoughts. They're trying to keep this from happening. This, to me, looks healthy. But if we looked into the minds of an average teenager or young adult, whatever, it would not look like this. It would be dim as a whole. Now, of course, this is supposed to be the structure of the universe, but I'm also using it as an illustration for, neurons firing in the brain.
I'll also add that looks very similar to. It looks very similar to the soil food webs of microbiology.
See, that's what I was saying about the multiple disciplines. They're not multiple disciplines. It's all the same discipline. It's just split up and kept separate. Divide and conquer. And the only way we can keep this from happening is to keep encouraging people to think outside the box. Because the box is a bad place. It's confining, constrictive. It's claustrophobic, damn it. And it stifles growth. It's the same thing as working out. You won't get a big muscle unless you do some curls. If you don't work your muscle, it doesn't grow. If you don't think, your brain will not grow. And that's exactly what's happening. We have small brains and big brains. Right now, society has a small brain, and it's kind of smoothing out. And that's exactly what they want for us. They don't want us to think about things in a critical way, to look beyond the surface, to look past the headlines. So that's exactly what we have to do, and keep us illuminated. I don't know if that's a good choice of words, but to keep us thinking and keep our brain active. Have that daydream. Make yourself a superhero. Doesn't matter. Think about it. Let it evolve. Create your world. create your universe. And then teach others to do it. I know it sounds simple and silly, but we need that. I'm done with my little rant.
Could also mirror this image with metaphor, and that could be inside a muscle as you're working it out, tearing the fibers, which is what builds. It's the tearing and scarring over stronger. From understand.
Hello, AZ.
What's
Welcome.
up?
We're talking about how everything's connected, and I'm encouraging people to essentially think deeper than just the surface. Imagine. Use your imagination. It'll help your brain grow. And I think everybody needs a little brain growth. I know I do. The more pathways you create, the better off you'll be. And I believe that's why we're here, is to experience as much as possible to make our brain so bright that it is a beacon. And then bring all that knowledge home to the creator. I don't know why, but that's what I think. I mean, if I was inside the brain of God, or if I was God thinking of this, that's what I'd want. To send all these little souls into this universe to experience whatever it can be experienced. And then bring all that home. I know, sounds kind of simple. But, like I said, I like simple. Because it works well with logic and reason. Keep it simple, stupid.
I've said this before, but I try to push my subconscious to think for me a lot of the time. So that way my conscious mind can focus on other things. And I believe that's why I have rather deep and metaphorical dreams. Like I've never had like a really truly scary dream. All my dreams might be like crazy and out there and rather ludicrous, but they often have a meaning under them that I might not even understand for 20 years from now, you know? But there are these dreams that help you rationalize thoughts that you couldn't understand. And by me forcing my subconscious to think, I believe that also helps my dreamscape explain things that my brain couldn't tell my conscious mind to understand. And then it depicts it within a dream later on. And I don't push my subconscious to tell my conscious right away. But if it's something smaller, like certain quick connections, it might trigger it back into my conscious mind at an appropriate time. And I think this is kind of where you're going as well, is trick your brain into thinking for you without having to actually think as much, because your brain will already do the work for you. You just have to feed it the remaining information for you to gather a more full, cohesive thought of a broader perspective of the singularity you're trying to focus on the target. You have this trajectory as we were talking about. You also have to equate wind, you know, to go along with like an arrow. The arrow has a spin. It has wind drag. It'll have wind pushing it to one side or the other. It also has like an arch up and then down. So you have to calculate all that in your target you're trying to hit. But you can't focus on that if you're only focused on trying to just hit the target, which comes with time and practice and understanding. If you wait for the slight calm right between like a breeze, you might be able to hit the target a little easier. Or you can throw it during even a massive gust and still hit the target, as long as the gust is consistent enough for you to aim correctly. So the environment that you're trying to focus on also pertains to the target you're trying to hit.
Hey, Miss Red Badger. Good to see you.
Hello.
Yeah, if you don't have resistance, you don't learn. And that includes your mind and your muscles and all that. Yeah, Callie said muscle memory and intuition. Yeah, see, that goes into it bigly. um, it's your intuition that is relaying your subconscious. Your intuition will never steer you wrong. If you follow it, it will point you in the right direction all the time. People mostly get in trouble whenever they go against their intuition. I know, I've done it quite a few times. But we live and learn. Hopefully, we live and learn. um, Listening to your gut will keep you connected and grounded. Like I said, it won't steer you wrong. It tells you what you need to do. All you got to do is listen.
That's true.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's the intuition is the interpreter for the soul. It transfers the information and gives you the feeling. And what you do with it is up to you.
I may be wrong, but isn't the gut where the center fire chakra is supposed to be located?
Miss Scrimshaw would probably know better than I would.
Because
don't
I think
have
there's
those
7
memorized.
chakras. I think there's 7 chakras, and I'm pretty sure the fire chakra is located in the gut, because that's the center where you get most of your fuel for your body. So it's the source of energy, if you will. And if your gut is what's telling you kind of instinctually this or not, then it's the source of the energy that your body has that's emitting a pulse, and it hopefully gets received by your brain.
Let's see. I have this.
I'd help look stuff up, but I can't. If I touch off of StreamYard, I'm
Right.
Robo
I have this
Rebel.
de facto picture that I had picked off the internet. I have to remove that. See, I wish you could put up multiples without coming in twice, because then that would just make it so much easier. So I could have something up on deck or switch between them. And I don't have them labeled, but this is one of the things I picked off the internet to show the positions. Now, let's see. I don't think those are the Scrimshaw. Are those the right colors? Let's see. Yeah, 7 in traditional Reiki. The solar plexus have to do with ego.
The one by the stomach does look more red. So
The colors seem off to me. Hey, Latin Patriot. Good to see you.
hey Latin. Yeah, the colors look off to me too, but they do have the shapes, which is probably helpful otherwise.
Yeah, I guess I'll just see if I can find a better picture. Let's see. Don't need that picture anymore. We've already went over the spirographs. Oh, hell, I can't spell. But I rhyme. Let's see if we can find something good. Let's go check out the images. This is not what I was looking for. Why is it showing me this?
I swear I unmute
Is
and the dogs quit talking, and then as soon as I unmute, they start talking again.
naturally. They just want to be on air.
Are they super loud? Are the
No,
dogs super loud? Or all
no.
right, cool.
I mean, you can hear them, but they're not loud.
Yeah. Not train loud.
Right. You hear the train a coming around the bend.
Bing, bing, bing.
That's what I was doing. I was basically, my misspelling took me somewhere stupid. So, yeah. Let's see. What does this say? Okay, different chakras. The crown, starting from the head, going down. Crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and base. Let's see. I'll go see if I can blow this up. Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay, I can put this up. All right, pull this down. Here we go again. Ah, shit, which tab? Yes. All right. Okay, crown, intellectual, spiritual, divine connection. Third eye, intuitive, insightful, uplifting. Throat, communicative, calm, tranquil. Heart, loving, caring, nurturing. I can't seem to
Nurture.
form that word. Nurture. Yeah, okay. Nurturing. I was thinking nutrient. Heart, calming, confident, open-hearted. Solar plexus, refreshes joy and peace. Sacral, rejuvenates, release, motivates. Base, passion, excitement, energy. So basically, the way this is described doesn't really cover it, does it? What we were talking about, but does give the region. So that's at least something. Let's go back to chat. I'm sure Scrimshaw is coming up with some good stuff. Yeah, Miss Red Badger, we're just mainly talking about the main ones, the line down. There's plenty of shockers. Yeah. I thought there was more than 12, but I could just be mixing that up. Maybe I'm thinking of pressure points.
Perhaps.
Okay, Scrimsaw says, depending on what you're studying, there are many chakras. Yeah. Okay, and then she said root chakra was. Oh, you don't agree with the placement in this picture? Well, I still got the other tab opened up. I can see. I'll find another one. Let's see. What's this one for? Oh crap!
Most of my chakras come from anime, to be totally honest. But anime has a history of being anime, like good animes have a history of being very true, you know. It's like almost like a Chuck Palahniuk book. Chuck Palahniuk does extensive research before he writes a book to put all that information in the book to make the book super compelling. So anime kind of does the same thing, even if it's a manga or an anime, which is usually a manga first, then it goes to anime when they get some popularity, unless they know some.
Yeah, I'm not very well versed in that aspects either of anime and manga and all that. Not really my thing.
I've always loved
Stuff.
cartoons in general. So, you know, from the Dragon Ball sagas to Naruto, Inuyasha, basically all the stuff Cartoon Network and Adult Swim would play pretty often is my main focus and understanding of animes, which may not be the best realm, but the most popular realms of Japanese cartoons. But I don't know. I like cartoons because I'm an artist, so I like to see how people draw stuff. And when you first see anime after watching American cartoons, it's like a whole different thing, but still kind of along the same lines. I guess pun intended. I don't know.
I'm more of a. I like machinima.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I haven't watched it extensively, but
Yeah, Rooster Teeth did that series Red versus Blue, and I was hooked. All right, this
yeah,
picture may do it. Go ahead.
I yield. You're good.
Let's see. And I'm trying to sift through all these different ones, and some of them have a lot of words that I can't read because they're small print, and my
Gotta
laptop
love
is
those.
small. I try and blow them up, but they are all blurry.
I've tried to read some mangas like that actually to bring it on a callback. You're like, cool, I got it, and then you click it, make it full size, and like
It looks like shit.
one letter is like 3 pixels, and you're like, I can't read this. Goes from English to Sanskrit.
This one up. Yeah, I don't think I'm actually going to find anything that's accurate, just because I'm having a hard time to discern which ones are accurate. They all look so damn similar. All right, you know what? I'm going to move on from that point and basically just say what we said was right, whatever it was, and next.
Yeah, we were talking about the gut, and I brought up chakras, and I think the energy chakra was from the gut, and that's how that
Yep,
got on that tangent. So,
yep. And
who's
I was
got a
saying
new topic
intuition
in
was
chat?
from the gut. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, I've been missing all the chat. Let's see. Yeah, Latin Patriot. They do have something to do with ours. Um, it's connection points with the energy of your aura. At least that's the way I see it. Other people may have different points of view on that. Hell, I might even be totally wrong, but that's like I said, the way I see it.
What are
Um,
those points called? That like the intercepting parts of ley lines on the Earth? They're kind of like those. I can't remember what
Nexus,
they're called though. Where they inter. Yeah, they're like nexus points of the body.
right? And basically, we were talking about your intuition and your gut, and basically associated with the chakras. And I believe that the chakras are part of the so-called lines of your aura. Aura. All of a sudden, I missed a letter. Maybe I need a drink of water.
Bloop, 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 bloop.
That's good stuff. That's how I call how the H2O.
I forgot about that line.
Can't forget about water, boy. But yeah, hell, we could actually talk about that too. Structured water. It fits into all this too. But I don't know if we want to dive into that subject. All goes according to frequency, and well, it's all connected. Yeah,
Anything
that's
about
another
how
thing about your
unstructured the
auras.
tap water is.
Yeah, how destructured.
Yeah, how unstructured tap water is, or depending on who's purposely putting crap in the tap water, how structured but counteractingly structured they make the tap water.
Yeah, I believe you can use Reiki to actually structure your water. Yeah. It's all about the frequency. I mean, there's people who are actually selling structured water um, um, frequency generators. You can buy one. Look it up. I mean, that, I found that whenever I was reading an article about structured water and learning about it and stuff like that. Yeah, they sell a little frequency generator, and you basically put it there with your water and let it generate its frequency, and it structures the water. Basically, it separates the contaminants from the water itself and makes it good, clean water.
My brain was firing off. I was thinking perhaps you could play that music you normally play in the background and put your water next to the speaker, and that would help structure it a little bit.
It's a specific frequency that does it. Just like 528s that I play in the background is for healing in general. But yeah, I mean, I think I did find the frequency. No, that was for something else. That's actually something I'm looking for is the frequency itself, and I think they don't want to publicize it too much because they're trying to make money off it.
Yeah. I mean, we know what some bad frequencies are, so we could avoid those. We know what some good frequencies are, so we could prioritize those. Trial and error.
Yeah, UV is a good thing for it too. I mean, setting it out in the sun and stuff like that, you don't quite want to do that, at least for long periods of time where the plastic will heat up and, well, essentially seep into the water.
Yeah, you want to use glass.
Yeah,
Glass will work because it allows the light through, but it also is still essentially a rock, so it won't leach out too bad.
right.
Might leach some, but not a lot.
Yeah. Meditation can be done if you can figure out how to basically meditate to a certain frequency. And you could generate that through your aura. And essentially, the stuff around you will, well, separate the toxins. You can do it for your own body.
Isn't that partly from um like a lot of cultures have done that? I heard supposedly archaeologist rumors that they would do that at Stonehenge and such, and also that goes to the like didgeridoo, if you will.
Hmm. Didgeridoo.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's throat singing with without the throat. You're using the tube. Sorry, it was a stray thought. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wind this down. Um, I gotta go ahead and put myself to bed because I gotta get up and go to work. I'm actually getting hours now, so that's why I've been missing some of my broadcasts. So I apologize to those who watch my shows and listen to my shows. Um, hopefully, I'll get back on a regular schedule again. Uh, but as long as I'm getting that, I gotta take them because I need that dinero. Gotta buy myself a new vehicle. My truck died. It's gone.
Mama needs a new pair of
I went to
shoes.
Ford Heaven. Yeah, I thought it was poetic justice. My actual Ford is found on road dead.
Yeah.
Just thought it was funny.
Sweet bitter irony.
Yeah.
Well,
But I have to commend the little truck. It lasted longer than I thought it would.
yeah. I mean, as long as really most vehicles will last, as long as they don't have planned obsolescence truly hardwired into them too much. They should last as long as upkeep is taken regularly. So
Yeah.
that's with
Just
everything.
basically up. I did the upkeep as much as I could, and basically when the the China flu hit, then basically just screwed that up because I didn't have the money to do repairs that I need. But like I said, it lasted longer than it would, and so I have to say that even though it's a Ford, it did a good job. Little memorial for my truck.
You can drive it into a ditch and bury it.
No, actually, I left it on the side of the highway.
To be found on the road bed.
Yes. Exactly. Seriously, that's what I did. And when I was doing it, I was thinking of that saying itself. And that's what kept me in good spirits instead of sitting there cussing and kicking it.
About 2028, they'll melt it down, turn it into some fence.
So it can be around always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good truck while it was there, even though it was a Ford. But it's time to move on. So now instead of spending the money to move, I gotta use the money that I've saved up to buy a vehicle. Awesome. So now I gotta basically stick it at where I'm at. And I don't know if all y'all's been paying attention, but I've been looking to move for better part of a year or two. So it's kind of sad in that regard.
It's a foreshadowing to tell you to
I was
save up longer.
Yeah. Well, if I don't find a vehicle, well, I have to find a vehicle as soon as possible. I got to go to work. But yeah, I have to do it and then save up again. And by that time, I don't think any kind of property to be even close to rentable. Real estate's going to go nuts. Well, not that it has already, but you know what I mean. Hell, just in the past year, rents have almost doubled. At least in my, I'm sure in California and places like that, it's outrageous. But
Yep.
like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and wind this down because gotta go and put the Vex to bed so he can wake up and make that money.
Mm.
Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Sweet dreams.
Yeah, I want to thank you, Cybertoxin, for coming up and out with me. You too, Rebel Jack. Thank you. Always welcome
Yeah.
both of you. I'd like to go ahead and say thank you to everybody for participating in chat. I really appreciate that. I love reading what you guys got going, especially when I'm not distracted by looking up pictures and stuff. But we'll try and continue this on Friday night at 10 p.m. Central. So come back and join me, and we'll talk a little bit about well, knowing more about your rights and how we can best assert them without going crazy. But as always, I promote peace and tranquility as much as possible and critical thinking because Lord knows we need it as much as possible. So, with that, I yield and I bid you all good night and streams.